University, and he has a PhD in mathematics and cryptography. He was also affiliated with the Secure project and will give a presentation on security with an incomplete communication graph. So the microphone is on to you, Jaron.
Thank you, Jonas, for the presentation. And as Jonas say, I was a PhD student in mathematics and a part of this Secure project. And today I won't talk about any published work. Instead, I will talk about some of the discussions we had in this project. So yeah, as a with my mathematical background, one of my part in this project was to contribute with some of my knowledge in this secure multi-party computation. And what I want to talk about today is how we define security in multi-party computation and some of the problems that might be in the way we define security. So this is originated from some of the discussions we had in this transdisciplinary project here. So to be a bit more specific, I will talk about security when we have what I call an incomplete communication graph and what problems that arises when the communication graph is not complete. So before moving on to these problems, I will just give you a small introduction to what multi-party computation is. So in multi-party computation, we have a number of parties, each holding some input to a function. And we want to, all the parties want to learn the output of this function, but they want to learn it in a way where they don't give up the privacy. They don't want the other parties to learn their inputs. So how can we achieve this? One way to do this in this way, if they could all find a trusted party which it's not one of these parties who want to compute the function, but another party which they all trust. They could just send their inputs to him and he could compute it and send their output back. So that is one way of doing it. And this is kind of what we call the ideal world, you could say, because no information is leaked. If we all trust this party here, then it's good. So this is kind of the ideal. But if we cannot find this party, then we want to be able to compute this function in another way. And in secure multi-party computation, we often assume that the communication graph is complete, meaning that each pair of party can communicate with each other. So what we do is we describe what we call a protocol, meaning that it's a description of now this party should send this message to this party and so on and so on. So it's just the instructions for what to do, how to compute this function. But we assume that we have this complete communication graph. And what we do is that we show that if an external adversaries are corrupting a number of these parties, so for instance, if he's corrupting these two parties here, we show that if they follow the protocol, they cannot do more harm than they can do in this setup here, so where they're also corrupting the same parties. So we kind of compare these two situations. So we call this the ideal world and we call this the real world. And we kind of compare what harm an adversary can do. And we say that if they cannot do more harm in this ideal setting than they can do in the real, then the protocol is secure. That's more or less how we define security. So today I'll just be focusing on a very simple example. I'll just assume the adversary is what we call passive, meaning that they cannot deviate from the protocol. They have to do so they cannot take actions for the parties. They can just see what the parties they're corrupting are seeing. But in that way, they can, of course, gather some information. And furthermore, I will also be focusing on that we want to compute the sum of the inputs. So the function is just the sum of the inputs. So one way we can achieve this is by using a secret sharing scheme. So a secret sharing scheme is just a way to share a secret in a way where we don't give up privacy, you would say. So we have this requirement that we need T privacy. So it means that if you share a secret between some parties, we say that each party get a share each. So T privacy means that T shares doesn't reveal anything about the secret. then I require this n reconstruction, meaning that n is just the number of parties. So it means that all the shares, if you have collect all the shares, we are able to reconstruct this secret. So one way we can achieve this setup of computing this function in this setup here is that each party start by a secret share its input. Then due to this linearity of the secret sharing scheme, which I didn't mention that much about, they could just sum up the shares, and what they get is actually a share for the output. So they could just send that back to all the other parties, and due to this n reconstruction, they could compute the output at the end. So the security here, or the privacy, so when I say security, when we only have a passive adversary, the main thing to consider is privacy, more or less, because the only harm we could do is that it will leak some information, more or less. But the security more or less relies on that this secret sharing scheme has this T privacy. So if an adversary is not corrupting more than T parties, then it will only see T shares for each of the inputs, so that it doesn't reveal anything. So what the adversary learns is just the inputs of the parties that are corrupted and the output at the end. So that's also one of the reasons why it's difficult to define security in multi-party computation, because you have to learn something, right? An adversary needs to learn something because it needs to learn the output at the end. Okay, so that's one way of computing this function in this setup here. But instead, what if we instead consider this setup here, where we don't have a complete communication graph, but instead this incomplete communication graph? If the adversary again corrupts these two parties here. So from the definition of security, we showed that more or less that they should learn the output of the function, and then of course they should also learn the inputs of the two parties they're corrupting, because they can see whatever they see. But if they're corrupting these two parties here, one can actually show that it's unavoidable that they will also learn the sum of the inputs for these two, and actually also the input from this party here. So that's a problem, right? So what do we do? In MPC, we'll just say that we can only compute the function, so the sum function, if at most one party is corrupt. So this leads to a situation where we say that functions cannot be computed securely due to our definitions when we have incomplete graphs. And there's not much literature actually studying this incomplete graph, but the few papers actually studying, they will just focus on what they say we can compute securely. So they will just say we cannot compute this function securely. So another example could be that we are looking at this communication graph. It's still not complete. Assume that the adversary corrupts the party here in the middle, then the adversary will again learn the input of the party. Then he will learn the sum of these two over here. He will learn the sum of these two over here, and of course he will learn this the output at the end. Now my question is that actually a problem? So in multi-party computation, we'll just say this function cannot be computed securely if you corrupt an adversary corrupting that party in the middle. But there might be a situation where it's not a problem that the adversary are actually learning these partial sums, because he still not learns the individual inputs of the parties, right? He doesn't learn the input of the party here. He doesn't learn the input of that party here, and so on. So of course there could be a situation where it's problematic that he learns this sum of these two, but there could also be situations where it was acceptable. So my concluding remarks would be: should we settle with the definition we have for security in MPC now, or would it make more sense to consider what is the best level of security we could obtain? So for instance, could it be okay to obtain that level of security in this situation here? And also we kind of have a global perspective when we are considering security in MPC, because we say that the adversary should not learn anything else than it's supposed to do, right? But maybe is individual privacy more relevant to consider? So instead of considering this global privacy leakage, where the we get some information as those, right? Maybe instead it was more useful to consider what I would call individual privacy. So just making sure that the individual inputs are not revealed to the adversary. So this is, yeah, as I said, it's up to discussion. I would like to discuss it with you. What should be the best way of looking at this privacy and security in MPC? So I hope that we can talk about that later.